Alrighty, welcome to today's YouTube video, and this video is going to be similar to the video I did last month, which was a look into my service style video, so just an actual video I sent to a client, just so people can kind of get an idea of the things I offer as a coach, as well as there's just a lot of good takeaways I think people can watch or get from these kind of videos. So this one is a block overview video for my client's next training block, as well as a debrief for his previous meet. So this is Adam Pech's performance at High School Nationals, where we got 7th in the nation. Meet PR squat, meet PR deadlift, meet PR total, all on 5-week turnaround time for the previous meet. So there was a lot of stuff I kind of touched on. I just felt like it made a really good video because it was just a little bit more in depth. And there was just a little bit more in the weeds and things to kind of go over since we've been working together about 10 weeks now. We have not been working together very long, and we've been thrown into 2 back-to-back meet preps. And despite the fact that we've had great meets in both, there's still some changes that we need to make. So I cover those with him, and this is essentially just the exact same video I sent to him. So if you enjoy this video, let me know. I can do more of these, kind of look into my service style videos so you can actually see real coach-client interaction and kind of some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes into working with me. So if you have any questions, let me know. Again, you can find me on Instagram at Rocket Strength Powerlifting, Powerlifting with Jake. Those are my 2 Instagram pages. Those will be linked in the description as well. So I hope you enjoy.
All right, block overview video for you. We are going to be covering your next block, but we're also going to quickly cover meet day. So let me get everything pulled up on Lifting Cast. All right. I did not mean to get it pulled up on this tiny little screen, but so second meet together. I think this is your 3rd meet ever. We were able to wrap. Let me turn this other light off. All right, we were able to wrap the day up 8 for 9 and a 7th place finish. So overall outcome of the meet, I'm incredibly pleased. I was kind of watching and stuff. I really wish I could have been there to call squats because I think we missed out on a few kilos. I think we could have probably took 245, but 217 moved phenomenally. And then the jump to 230. I wanted 232, but I think the live stream latency and whatever was just an issue. But like in hindsight, obviously, I think 232 would have been like the call to set up the 245. I think that would have been the move based on how like this 230 moved, because it moved insanely well. Because 242 moved, you're going to see there's room in the tank there. You'll see with the programming here in a minute. 125 bench to 132. I thought the 125 looked strong. I thought the 132 looked good. I really thought you were going to smoke 137. I thought, okay, he's going to hit this. This is the safe bet. This is going to rack up some kilos. And we missed. I was shocked. But, it happens. We're going to be hitting the drawing board hard on bench press here this block, as you're going to see. And then 217 deadlift into 232 and a half deadlift. I think 232 and a half was the high end. And I remember telling Roman, I said, if he smokes 220 or if he smokes 217, load 232. Don't even think about it. Just load it. Because I'd rather that deadlift be a little harder than like ideal, and then we can adjust from there. But this gave us the most freedom of what we could load on the 3rd to kind of hit whatever total if we were going to worry about positioning. At this point, he said you just want to kind of play it safe the rest of the way, and I was fine with that, just because at this point it was kind of clear like we might have been able to reach for like podium top 5 potentially, but like it didn't really seem worth it at the time. And this guy was pulling behind you. So he would have just been able to load whatever he needed to pull in the 5th. So at this point, it was kind of like, let's just lock things up. We did get 1 or 2 misses after you pulled that solidified you in 7th, because you were going to slide back down, but then there were some misses. I don't remember who off the top of my head, but there were a couple misses that helped us out as well on deadlift. So we're like a bench press away from being on that podium, which is awesome to see. But yeah, everything came in strong. I mean, bench press, I think, was about as strong as it was in the gym. Because the one thing we got to remember is you took that 137 in the gym. I think your pause was rushed. I think there were no commands, and that's on me as well, as I should have told you to take that with commands. But I think strength-wise, all three lifts showed up, especially when we were kind of doing some last second, nothing too crazy with the cut, but watching your weight a little bit and the morning of you were able to eat some and get some water in it, and we nailed it. You came in 89.45. Your first meet, I have you coming in at 88.4, so you were a full kilo heavier this go around, which is nice because like your training weight was probably about the same, but the fact that you were just a little heavier on meet day, like a hair over 2 pounds, like 2, 3, 5 pounds or something, but definitely is gonna help, right? So I was stoked with the outcome of the meet, very very happy with the way everything went with that. So excellent outcome of the meet. Just to kind of go over attempts here. Again, this third squat was ridiculous. Moved super well. I believe we initially, or not initially, but I believe we had 245 as your cap here, like your reach cap. But this moved well. And again, I didn't want to put more than 245 on the sheet. I mean, looking at this looks like the planned, if anything. And then, you might have had like you might have had like 247. Like, I think you had 247 or even maybe 250 on the day. But it was an interesting situation with your squat attempts. I guess I can just pull this up quick. It was an interesting situation building out your squat attempts because you had hit 240, and I didn't want to necessarily try to have you take something like 247 on meet day when you had never loaded that before. And when all your singles in prep were really pretty smooth, we never really went. I'd say your last single was probably an 8. That last 240 you took. So I'm stoked with the outcome. I'm very happy with the 242. And again, we had this kind of little reach. But yeah, super good outcome there with squat. Bench press, again, just I wouldn't even say it was weak. It's just we haven't been able to kind of pick up that momentum in training and like make tangible progress. Now, obviously, we've only been together 2 blocks. Like we've caught, fire on squat and deadlift. We just haven't been able to kind of get it figured out with bench. And I knew bench going into this meet was probably not going to be much better than the previous meet, just because we ran last block, or last prep rather, I guess, but 5 weeks into the meet. So we'd worked together for 4-week block plus a taper week, so 5 weeks, competed. And then from there, it's like, well, it's clear some stuff needs to change with bench, but like what needs to change is the question, and how much are we willing to change? And I kind of just lean towards the idea of, okay, let's just accept that, hey, maybe we're going to come into Nats in 5 weeks and bench like the same, and that's okay. And we'll lean into the squat and deadlift progression and momentum we have. Let those be the thing that like gets you the progress on the total, and then just like play bench safe essentially, and just come in on the day and take what's there, and not necessarily chase numbers. Obviously now we're gonna like overhaul some bench press programming, but it was kind of a calculated decision on mine where it's like I'd rather just do what we know will at least be predictable and get you there healthy and feeling good. I made a few adjustments to programming, but like no overhaul that I normally probably would have lean towards, not necessarily a full overhaul, and you'll see it's not really overhauled, but there's some adjustments to the secondary and tertiary day and even primary day. And I was a little bit more nervous making those changes going into Nats, knowing that like, okay, we could turn it around and bench could go from just kind of being stagnant to improving a ton, or I could regress you and you could tank, right? Like that's something that could happen with changes. So I kind of elected, let's play it safe. Let's just kind of do what we're doing. Made a couple small adjustments just because, we were turning around into the next meet, see if we could turn things around. So there will be changes coming. But yeah, I was honestly shocked you missed the 137 based on how good this was. I mean, this was pretty smooth and we only needed another 5 kilos. And in fact, in the moment, I was kind of low key like, ooh, he might be good for 140, but I was fully on board with the 5 kilo jump. And I might have even told Roman to take that because I called your last deadlift and I kind of pre-called your second deadlift, but the stream latency was rough. I think I did call the last bench if I remember correctly, but or maybe it was the last squat. I don't remember what it was, but I was kind of talking to him throughout the day, and I was very happy with this call. This was the right call, and I was surprised you missed. At least, I mean, what we could have took 135, but in a situation like this, I generally lean towards like the 5 kilo jump, anyways. And again, like I said, I really thought you were gonna smoke it, so I was surprised with that. But back to the drawing board with bench press. Deadlift was fantastic. The 217 flew on your opener, and then your second at 232 flew. And that was kind of like we almost scripted it in a sense where it's like, hey, unless the opener really is rough, pull the 232. Let's set ourselves up for options on this third attempt deadlift. Just knowing we're in a, not necessarily like a super head-on battle, but we were in a situation where we did want to think about placing to an extent. And then at that point, I think the 232 even gave you the meet PR. So that kind of locked that up as well. I think it gave you a 5 kilo meet PR. It was either 2.5 or 5. And then from there, it was like, okay, let's pull what we can pull. We were kind of going back and forth. So 240 was originally put in. We're kind of going back and forth about 240, 242. But then Roman told me that you were kind of just wanted to play it safe. You weren't as worried about the placing. At that point, I was on board with that decision. I think you probably could have pulled 242. And that was what I was going to have the change put to. Because again, I felt like in the situation before deadlift changes and everything started coming through, that would have put you like closer to 5th. And obviously we would have needed some misses probably. But, at the time that was going to probably slot you in about 5th based on like projected totals and everything. But he said you just wanted to wrap the day up, finish strong, and, take something you knew you could hit. And this was also a 2.5 kilo all-time PR. So like I was on board with this decision. Once he said that, I was like, that's fine with me. Let's end this day on a high note. You hit this. Again, I do think you probably had the 242, but I'm very happy with the outcome of the day. We went 8 for 9. 8 for 9. We hit a 12.5 kilo squat PR and a 7.5 kilo bench PR, as well as a 14 dots PR and a 17 kilo total PR. So 17 kilos on the total, 14 points on the dots, 7 on the deadlift, 12 on the squat. And we're able to wrap all that up within a top 10 day. So, and how many were in this class? This is a stacked class. There's a lot. 42, 43, 44, 45, 46 if you count bomb outs. But 7th out of 46, that's fantastic, right? So, meet recap portion here is done. I don't know if there's anything else I want to talk about with the meet. It was pretty smooth. Alrighty. Getting into the programming itself, I'll leave this here. So, couple things. One, I gave you yesterday and Tuesday off, or yesterday and today's Tuesday off. So, we're back to it Wednesday. I'm going to gloss over this, but it's essentially just an intro week, lower volume, kind of like a deload week, right? Lower volume, lower intensity. Some of the accessories are dialed back, some of them aren't, just kind of where I think you can be. But you stated you're not really feeling fatigued. So I'm going to gloss over this. This is all pretty straightforward. Anything that needs to be covered is going to kind of be covered in the rest of like the training block itself. So next week will be week 1, Monday, week 1. And then from there, regular 4-week block. We're going to stick with the 4-week blocks. We've been having success with that. Most people within my system run 4 weeks. I think everyone right now runs 4. I have one guy who runs kind of 3.5 weeks, kind of. It's a little weird. He runs like 4, but that week 1's more of an intro week. Otherwise, everyone's running 4 for the most part. I just find that seems to be the sweet spot. We obviously did that into prep just because that's how things lined up. But that works out nice anyways. That's just the sweet spot where I find people are at. I also find just people in general, like from a pacing standpoint, 4 weeks is like perfect, where 5 sometimes is a little too long, 3 sometimes too short. We can really kind of adjust and dial in those rep ranges if need be, or those load ranges week to week if need be. If we need to add a week, we can. I'll leave the door open for that. If we didn't have a meet last block, we likely could have added a week just based on how everything was going. So we'll see. For right now, we're going to plan on 4-week blocks. If we need to add that 5th week, we will. Starting off with squat, I'm not changing anything. It's going to be very straightforward. We're going to run a top double here, and then a 3x5 on the back downs, and then leg press. We're going to same start point here, take slightly bigger jump into week 2, and then week 3 and 4 is just going to chip what you did last block to end at 200 kilos as opposed to 197 kilos. The idea here is we have a lot of momentum on squat. Squat is going incredibly well. It looks incredibly strong, and I think on meet day you were good for 147. I think in the gym when you took 140, you were good for 147. So all that being said, the goal is 147. So we're gonna run singles here. We're gonna start off the block about 210 into 222. So that'd be about 12 kilo jump into 235, just another 12 kilo jump into 247, just another 12 kilo jump. If you have as much momentum as you did last block, and you make like you picked up this you know you picked up steam about week 3, and you like it was clear, okay, we're making tangible progress here, like legitimate progress. We might load the yellow. And I said next time we do singles, I think we might load the yellow, but I was planning on kind of going to triples, and then I thought about it, and I was like, let's run singles back. We might do it this block. We might try for it, but let's plan for 247, and if 250's there, it's there. Jumps, start points, pretty much the same, but we're just taking slightly bigger jumps to get you there. So I don't want to progress everything, all 4 weeks. I'd rather progress like weeks 3 and 4. I don't think we necessarily need those weeks 1 and 2 to be a certain load either to kind of get us to weeks 3 and 4 to perform well. Just due to the fact that like last block we were like adding, kilos to the ranges to in the block, and you had strength in the tank as well. So it's not like you were coming in like needing to feel something heavy on your back, like you were good to go. So that's the plan on squat. Bench press, couple changes. So we're going to run 6s here. And my idea is let's get away from the lower rep work here. I think last block we were just doing too much low rep, peak intensity top sets. I want to get to higher quality workload across all 3 days. We're going to run Larson here for the sole reason is, one, it's a little bit load limiting. It's a little bit of a longer range of motion. But the big thing is it's going to force really good touches. I don't necessarily think you have any problems with touches, but like we're not doing any variation work the rest of the week. So let's kind of do something that's going to challenge technique in a sense and kind of keep that technique primed. I'm a little hesitant not having any tempo bench press in here because of, I don't want to say like some of the leg drive inconsistencies, but like we didn't really start getting that dialed until late last block, like week 3 and 4, really into week 4, started to really dial the leg drive in. So we got to be really diligent with that. One thing we can do is tempo some of your warm-up work, but for now, or this tertiary session, Larson's pretty straightforward. It's capped. Top set of 6, back down set of 2x6. I will adjust ranges as we go because they likely will need adjusted because, we haven't pushed top set of 6 ever before, anything, really like super close to it, as well as we've never done Larson. So this should be a conservative start, and I'll just modulate and adjust those ranges as we go. The secondary day, the goal is to, again, get away from that peak intensity and kind of improve the average intensity. So give you ascending 4s as opposed to a single in like a top set of 4 or 5 or whatever. Give you ascending 4s. It's a good way to hike up that average intensity and just kind of have better quality workload. You're getting a good, heavy work set in before the top set, before, that most fatiguing set of the day, and before what's likely to be some sort of an adrenaline dump if you're getting hyped up. I do want you to go ham on these, though, especially this set here. Playing for about 5 kilo jumps. The goal is to end about 125 here and then into a 2x5. I left accessories identical on bench press. We're going to kind of adjust the bench press workload via the comp work. So we'll adjust the actual bench pressing, comp bench, or, in this case, like Larson or whatever. We're going to leave all the accessories pretty much the same. And then that way we can really, it's not like the accessories changing is the thing that's giving us the added progress. I don't think the accessory work's like too high, and I definitely don't want to drop it any because even late last block and the previous block, you were talking about feeling a little bit fatigued on bench, which is a little more rare to really be able to reach to someone to the point where they are starting to really feel beat up on some days, occasionally, but like it's not as common just because bench is inherently less fatiguing than like a squat or deadlift. So that's why I don't think we even need to go more anyway. So I'd rather just adjust the comp bench work, and then if we need to down the road, we can adjust the accessories because you're not doing a ton, but it's not like bare bones levels either. But anyways, otherwise I think this is like a set of 10 to 12 now, and then an AMRAP before it was like a top low rep set and then a back down or something. Saturday's a top triple into a fatigue single. Fatigue single for two reasons. One, I want to prioritize something different other than a single on the primary day. But two, I still think we should leave that single in for two reasons. And, well, not really two reasons. I think we should leave that single in some capacity because of the ability to kind of look back on previous blocks and compare the performance. So whenever I'm making, like, I wouldn't say this is like an overhaul, but whenever I'm making bigger programming changes, I like to keep like that primary day indicator set or sets similar to what we were doing or singles. And the reason being is I can then compare to past blocks or compare to where the top end is and see, are we actually moving that needle, forward at all? Or is this just a byproduct of, we were doing singles, now we're doing triples, and we're stronger than the last time we did triples, which was like 6 months ago. So of course it's going to look like training's going really, really well because, we're tangibly stronger than, but maybe it's not necessarily going as well as it appears. So this just gives us this is going to stare us in the face. If this goes well, it's going to be very obvious. And if it's a little stagnant, it's going to, be pretty clear. And then if it's not going well, it's going to be very, very, very obvious. Versus if we ran just a top triple or something, or like, doubles or whatever. So it is kind of as if we're doing a top triple, because I was going to just move you to top triple and then double the next block at singles or whatever, and kind of rotate through those. But I wanted to leave that single in there so that this is very obvious of what the changes we're making are working or not. But I want to put the triple first and give it, make this a fatigued single in a sense because I want to prioritize that triple. So this is the tops that I care most about. I don't want you coming into the gym and sandbagging this triple and then going hard on the single. Go hard on the triple, and then if you need to chill on the single because there's some intra-session fatigue or whatever, that's fine. But you should be fine. I mean, you're well-leveraged bench rider for the most part. I don't think we're going to see any issues of like a huge drop-off in performance going into this. I kept them about a 5 kilo difference. A little bit more later in the block as we start to push that single a little harder. But that's kind of the direction I've got things going right now with that. And again, the machine chest press here. As for future changes to bench, we could add a fourth day at some point. That's a direction we could go. We'd likely need to have you train Thursdays, or we could just move. Well, we could probably just put a session on Friday too if we needed to. So that could be something we could do too. So we could add the fourth day. That's something that is possible and is something I did bounce that idea around, but I decided against that for this block. Just want to stay within that 3 days for right now. Bench press or deadlift is a bit of an overhaul. So you requested to kind of play around with some sumo, which I'm on board with. You're young. Conventional is going very well, so I don't want to prioritize sumo right now, as well as I think that would be very not smart of me on my end to just give you a bunch of heavy sumo and say, let's go, let's ball out. So couple things. Primary day is going to stay pretty similar. We're going to run a top triple as opposed to a top single. And then run fives on the back down work. Same thing we've been doing. I dialed in those weekly ranges or load caps a little bit better. I think last block going into the meet, like, yes, deadlift went well, but I think we started those fives a little heavy because we ran out of gas late on those. And some of that's probably some intra-session fatigue or adrenaline dump from the top single. At the time was a single. But I want to start these lighter and leave a little more room to add load and just pick up momentum on them. Top triple, though, I might adjust these as we go, but I'm going to eye about a 222 finish. That's kind of the hope. I think you're going to be right around that range, which lines up nicely with like kind of where this single was and where deadlift was going at the end. So we'll see. I do want you to not necessarily force the top end if it's not there, though. With squat and bench, like, I think we can reach towards that top end. As you know, I generally am encouraging people to reach towards the top end because I'm at a point where, like, I don't feel like RP is the end-all, be-all. If something's overshot by half an RP to a full RP, it's not a big deal. I don't think it's as big of a deal as some people make it out to be. But I don't want you, like, loading up 210 on this day if it's going to be a 9 RP. And I don't want you, and that's why I kind of kept this, weeks 1 through 3 a little bit conservative. I don't want you loading 222 up if it's going to literally shave years off your life to finish the lift type of thing, right? I do want to keep things in that 8 to 9 RP range. Obviously, I ride 8, but I'm okay if things are a little bit heavier on that week 4 specifically. Otherwise, I got you doing hamstring curls. And then this abductor, which is knees apart, and I'll cover that in a second. The secondary day is going to be the sumo. So before we were just doing like the kind of the cluster singles or kind of like cluster singles. We're going to do ascending fours. Everything's going to be capped. I do want you to abide by RP here. So if 160 is going to be a 6 or 7, do not load that. I want you to be so conservative to start the block, and we will adjust things as we go, and I'll write things kind of more on a week-to-week basis. So I really, 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 really cannot stress this enough. Be conservative with your load selection on this day specifically. Because sometimes what you'll see with people who they jump into sumo deadlift really early or really quick is we start running into hip problems and adductor pain and whatever else. Because it's a bit of an extreme position. You've built all this strength up in the squat and the deadlift, and you have a narrow, moderate to narrow stance on the squat. I wouldn't say narrow really, but moderate. It's not like you squat super wide with your toes turned out into very abducted positioning. So I want to ease into this very easily. Another thing I did is I gave you seated adductor machine. So adductor would be squeezing your legs together. The adductors are the muscles on the inside of the thighs. Squeezing those legs together. 2 sets to 8 to 10, RP 6 to 7. I want the RP pretty chill on these. I don't want to go too hard. Just want everything nice and easy. Again, we're really trying to build up the tolerance of those adductors and what those adductors can really handle, as well as just like get your hips moving through this wider, kind of more stretched out, positioning where you're going to have to rotate out with the hips, right? The primary deadlift day, I've got you do an abductor, so I capitalize the B so you'll notice it, but abductor, abductor. This would be knees apart. So this is the seated, I'll pull up like a photo quick. So this would be seated abductor, would be out, okay? Adductor would be squeezing your legs together. So that's the difference. Abductors, knees apart, and that's why I wrote knees apart. Adductor would be knees together. So that should cover everything. Let me know if there's any questions. Obviously, no meet as of right now on the horizon. If something does come up you want to do, let me know. I'd like to take a little time away from the platform, though. Honestly, it's March. I'd say at least till the back half of the year, like July or later. CSG is an option. I think that meets in July. Well, I can tell you when that meet is exactly because I got it written right here. That meet is July 12th and 13th. You could do that. I mean, that's all of April, all of May, all of June, and most of July, or the first week of July. But honestly, if you wanted to wait, I'm in no rush to get you on the platform. I mean, we just did back-to-back preps. So I would say like July at the earliest, and I'm sure you're itching to get back on the platform, but I really do think some time away is going to be helpful for a standpoint of, one, just more time to continue to make progress before getting back on the platform, but two, figure this bench press out, figure out the sumo conventional, and that sort of thing. So let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. As always, just shoot me a message.